Okay, everyone. Hope everyone is having a wonderful Sabbath here. Today, I want to keep moving on the topic of the mind and our thoughts, and of course, there are various universal laws that moves with our minds, and the reason why it moves with our minds because our mind deals with spirit. You know, you can't see the mind because everything that moves through or is of the mind, it's not necessarily physical. Now, it comes into physical things and structures, but it's mind. And mind is a creator, or it is the creator, if you will. And everyone has an aspect of that mind because all of us really is simply part of an original thought that has come out of mind, and we all have that. Okay. Now, so what a part of what we're dealing with our minds now is the things that we believe in this life, and when it comes to our thoughts now and the thought processes, now the intensity of the thoughts that we hold in our minds, that really determines the influence that we're going to have on our world. Okay, that's the intensity of it. You know, how serious, how focused it is. You know, it's going to determine how we influence everything around us. Our words, our feelings, our emotions, and our behaviors. All this affects the world around us, including the people around us. And what it also does, it actually conditions the belief structure that we have. If you're thinking of certain things in a certain manner, and you're feeling certain things, and you're behaving in a certain manner, this actually is going to start structuring the things that we believe in this life. Okay, so we got to think about that because it's going to do it on the conscious level, okay, or the subconscious level. If we believe that rich people are all, bringing the world to all kind of issues and evil, well, that's going to become part of what we see in our reality. It doesn't have to be real or be right, but we're going to see that in our reality, and we're going to be acting towards that. That's going to be our beliefs. Our words are going to come out based upon that. The things that we feel, our emotions, and how we behave. It's going to all be based upon what we are creating through that thought process. If we believe that that men are all dogs, whatever, then all the good men are gone, it's going to trigger certain things in our world. And it's going to cause a cascade of subconscious-driven activities that's going to result in that becoming our reality. Because we're going to make it that, okay? Because we're going to attract people who are in that area, and those who are of a different. If the universe hasn't set it up for you and I to meet something different, so it could take us in a different direction, we are going to be pulling that towards ourselves. Now, there are certain things that could save us from that. Now, if we understand that everyone is on this planet right now, and that just because we plan a certain way of going and we believe a certain way right now, that doesn't have to be what is already ordained for you, because there are certain things that you're predestined to meet. Okay? But there's certain things that's already ordained for you, okay? And you have to meet them, whatever. Now, it's free will and predestination also. So you have free will to do whatever you're going to do when you meet the things that you're predestined to meet. But those things that you're predestined to meet, you have to meet them. So if you're predestined to meet somebody, you're going to meet that person. But what are you going to do when you meet that person? Because free will is always going to be around for you to do whatever it is that we're going to do. And based upon that free will, we're going to be using our words. We're going to, things are going to happen, and here goes our feelings and our emotions. Our behavior is going to be a certain way. And we're going to influence the people around us with that. We're going to influence our world, what comes into our world. So we got to be very careful now that we become mindful, if you will, of the internal belief system or structure that we are actually creating, because we are actually creating this. Now, I want to bring somebody to your attention today in the scriptures. Let's go to Second Chronicles. Okay, Second Chronicles, and we're going to go to chapter 20. And this person is talking about a belief system or belief structure. And in chapter 20, and we're going to start with verse 20. This is talking about Jehoshaphat, and I'm pretty sure you know Jehoshaphat. Second Chronicles, I would say chapter 17 to about 21 is talking about his reign in Israel as one of Israel's king. Or Yada's king. Okay? And pretty much it shows that under this individual, things generally went very well. Everybody, they had peace and they had prosperity. You know, because you can have peace, but you don't necessarily have to have prosperity, because they're two different things. But they had peace, they had prosperity. Everybody, and you can say that their baskets and their stores or riches, whatever, was all great for the most part. In chapter 20, verse 20. Now, this is what the individual said. Now, if you know what this individual did, he had the priests go around every sabbatical year, and the priests had to go teach the people the law. He had the priests do that, okay, during his reign, because he wanted this to go all through his kingdom, and he wanted the people to know what he felt they needed to know in order for them to have peace, because he was having it, and he wanted to share it. Now, this is what he says here in chapter 20. Let's look in verse 20. He says, early in the morning they rose up and prepared to set out into the wilderness of Tekoa. While they were going out, Jehoshaphat stood up and said, hear me, O Yada, because Yada had, the nation had already split up, and you had the northern and southern kingdom, okay, and he was of the southern kingdom. And people of Jerusalem, this is what he's telling them, because this was his experience. He says, believe. This is very powerful, guys. Believe. Believe in Yahweh your Father, and he says, and you shall be established. Believe it. You will be established in the words that we're speaking. We'll be established in our belief structure, because that's what's going to help create that belief structure. We're going to be established in our emotions. We're going to be established in our behavior. We're going to be established in the things that's around us, and people who come and glean from you, if they really believe it too, it's going to take place that they also become established. So he goes here now. He says, believe Yahweh your Father, and you shall be established. Believe his prophets. Now, the prophets are individuals who came by, and see, the prophets are those who bring testimony of what Yahweh said. And the testimony comes through what the law of Moshe was all about. So the law of Moshe was laid down, but the law of Moshe was pretty much, a standard which you had to see more of it. So the prophets would come along now, and the prophets would testify about the intent of what Moshe was talking about. So he was telling you, listen here, Yahweh doesn't care about animal sacrifices, guys. He cares about what's in your heart and in your mind. That's what the prophets would say this. So the prophets were really letting folks know that, hey, you go ahead and sacrifice, because that's what's in the Levitical law and priesthood. But what does Yahweh really want? He desires for you and I to have mercy to love one another, to have compassion, okay, and to create peace within ourselves. This is what the prophets were really testifying of, and letting folks know that, listen, kindness and all these things is better than 1,000 Bashan lambs that you bring to sacrifice. Okay? You just doing right for your brother. It's better than all these things that is written in the code of Moshe telling you about that. Yeah. Am I telling you not to bring those things over there? No, because that's what you're living under right now. So obey that and do that right now, because that helps us to stay in unison with the whole nation, the whole thing that is there. But you knowing what the situation is, you're not going to worry about an animal, because you're going to be cleansing the individual, which is the real animal. That's what we're going to be doing. So he says here, believe the prophets, and you are going to succeed. So he's telling you believing in Yahweh is going to establish you and cause you to succeed. Now, a lot of times when we hear that, we think of material stuff, material establishment and success materially. No, but Yahweh could care less about what you and I have materially. The success that Yahweh is dealing with is spiritual success. Is you coming to the place, and I coming to the place that we have peace, that we become content in all things, okay? That we are not afraid of anything. Okay? The peace and prosperity that Israel had around the time of Jehoshaphat, this is the success that Yahweh is really dealing with. You and I come into the place and time that we know what really matters, and we don't get ourselves distracted with the things of the world. Now, in the story of Jehoshaphat here, I'm not going to go in and read it, but if you read what happened with Jehoshaphat, because really his kingdom took a hit. But his kingdom didn't take a hit because of all the things that he was doing for the people and helping them to do, not realize what Yahweh was all about. His kingdom took a hit when he decided to go into alliance with the northern kingdom of Israel. Okay? If you remember Ahab, King Ahab, really bad guy, okay? At least that's what the scriptures show, that this guy was not doing very well. Well, he tried to bring an alliance between the two kingdoms, okay? And for this, trying to bring that alliance, he allowed certain habits that these guys were doing in the northern kingdom to come and infect what was going on in the southern kingdom. And this brought a lot of stress upon that kingdom. And if you look in our 1 Kings, maybe chapter 22, talks about this. So when he didn't stay in the things that he was trying to get the nation of Yada to do, but he kind of got caught up in a little mixture of these other guys right here, he didn't quite do exactly what Yahweh was saying to do. Because if he was believing, he would stay put no matter what Ahab had brought, okay, and he would have stayed in success. But Yahweh is trying to let us know how delicate this could be. Okay, when the things that we believe, when we actually create some kind of sear of the conscience, if you will, that we create some kind of other movement to start coming in to that process and infect it. So we have to make sure that in the things that we do, we keep our minds, be very mindful of what we're doing, and make sure that we don't go astray. As we're in what you call here this earth, which is the valley of the shadow of death, so we don't get caught up in those things right there. Now, what I want us to do now, in keeping in mind about belief, I want us to go to Romans. Okay? Romans chapter 11, and this is something that is here for us, and it doesn't mean that we're not talking about individuals straying, and if they stray, it's just a bad thing, and they're cut off, and all kinds of stuff going on. No, your Father in heaven is always ready to redeem you. Always ready to redeem you. We are the issue. We get in our own way. We can't get in the Father's way, because whatever the Father plans is going to go. But the Father has given you and I free will. Okay? We had free will with our birthright when we said, Father, hey, listen, I want my birthright, all that my inheritance coming to me, so go down to that land down there and squander all of it. I'm the prodigal son, so this is what I choose to do. That's our birthright. We could do whatever we want to do, believe it or not. That is your birthright, the freedom to choose. And your Father's not going to get in the way. Unless that comes into some kind of problem with the overall mission as far as where it's at right now. That's the only time that he's going to make sure that you don't mess with it. Okay? When there's a supreme plan, you're not going to, no one is going to mess up the supreme plan. So we're going to all work in the boundaries of that plan, and if he doesn't mess up that plan, he's not going to mess with you. He's not going to mess with me or you in anything in that area. We're going to have the free will to exercise whatever we want to exercise. So now, we have Romans chapter 11. Let's look at verse 22. Okay. He says right here in verse 22, chapter 11, verse 22, he says, Behold, the righteousness and the severity of Yahweh on those who fell. Severity, but towards you. Severity, but towards you, righteousness, if you continue in his righteousness. So let me go ahead and read that again because I kind of stumbled over that a little bit. It says, Therefore, behold the righteousness and severity of Yahweh on those who fell. Severity. But to you who are turning from that, righteousness, if we continue in his righteousness. We just saw Jehoshaphat that was doing certain things in his kingdom, and then he moved off into doing certain things with Ahab and didn't necessarily continue all those things. And a righteous man is going to move, and in the day that his righteousness starts to fail, it says it's forgotten because he's moving in a different direction. And really what's going on is he's creating a different set of circumstances to come in his life. That's all he's doing. Nobody has to stand up there in heaven and then beat him for it. No one has to. The very activities that he is doing is causing this. The very belief system that we have is going to cause or create our circumstances. So in what we are speaking, what we're doing, what our emotions are all about, this is going to create our belief structure. All these right here. So here he goes now, we go a little further. He says, if you continue in his righteousness, otherwise you also will be cut off. And this cutting off is not necessarily talking about us dying or being thrown out of an organization or in anything like that. No, it's not talking about that. It's talking about being cut off in the spirit that moves within the individual that we're able to wake up to and actually, as a channel, receive what that spirit has given us. We are cut off from that. So we go a little further now, and here in verse 23, he says here, and if they do not persist in unbelief. In unbelief. So in our belief structure, the thing that's going to create our belief structure, guys, we just talked about that. Our word, the feelings, emotions, and our behavior, this is going to affect the people around us and our world that we're creating. It also influences or it conditions our beliefs. What we believe about the world and what we believe about the world or what we believe about ourselves and everybody else, this has to do a lot about what we create in our field. So here he goes here now. He says, and if they do not persist in their unbelief, they will be grafted on. They will also get into the place that they're returning. For Yahweh is able to graft them on again. Now where is Yahweh, guys? We've talked about that. The kingdom of Yahweh, where is it at? The kingdom of Yahweh is within. The power for you to be grafted in is right there inside of us based upon what we exercise in our belief structure. Okay? Based upon the things that we're going to deal with as far as what we let come out in our emotions, okay? In our feelings, our words, that which comes from the heart is going to be creating something. It's going to put together our belief structure, and based upon what we believe, we're going to create with it. And we're going to create in a certain field because, like I said, we can't create outside of what's predetermined for us to move in. So we can't affect the overall plan. We could affect the plans that we think we have control over, and we're going to affect our lives and what we're doing on this planet. This is what's going to take place. So we're seeing here in Romans 11 and verse 23 that we could actually wake up, because being grafted on again is simply opening your channels, your conduit, so that you can receive what the Father is pouring into this dimension, your consciousness. You can receive this. Now, everyone doesn't receive this at the same level. He talks about receiving the Spirit, and he says to some is given this, to some is given that. Everyone given different things, but it says what? Of the same Spirit. Everyone is receiving that from the same Spirit, but they're receiving different gifts, okay, from that very same Spirit. Someone may get the gift of speaking in languages because somewhere along their line they want that, they have the desire, and in the things that they're doing, what they're speaking, this simply start to become part of their field. Someone else may all of a sudden find that they're healing or being able to teach or preach or whatever the case is. This is all a gift that is given. It's not made for everybody, and don't feel that because you don't have a particular gift that you're short, that you have been shorted. No, everyone doesn't have the same thing. Everyone is not the toe. Everyone is not the eye. Everyone is not the nose. They all have their particular degree of what's needed in the body to assist it. So, okay, but the body has to function as a unit, and everybody has their place in there. So we're seeing now that if we continue in a certain mode in that belief, and we don't move in unbelief, then channels are opened up, and in what we're reading here, it says that you be grafted on again. Well, this tree that it's talking about, guys, is simply the family that I've told you about. The family that you have, which is the name of that family is Yahweh. Believe it or not, Yahweh is not an individual. Yahweh is a universal body. And you are here, and when you wake up, your duty is to express Yahweh, because all souls are in that family. All souls are mine. All souls came out of the only begotten Son, and all souls are in this place right now, and we have either fallen into lower frequencies, and now we are waking up, or we have fallen into lower frequencies, and we are deciding to stay there. But whatever the situation is, those who are waking up, their job, as they come to realization of what their job is, they know it's not to live all pompous around the world. Their job is to have all kind of experiences, worldly experiences. That's not it. Their only duty is to wake up their brother. That's how they're going to reverence their father, because their father is here and he is the Redeemer. So if you're going to assist the Redeemer, that's what your job is. Your job is to assist in redeeming those who are fallen. That's the only job that we have. Now we're going to go over to Hebrews chapter 3. Okay, Hebrews chapter 3, and we're going to look at verse 18 first. Okay, 18. Okay? It says here, it says the children of Israel are going to the wilderness now, okay? And so Shaul is addressing this. In verse 18 it says, "And to whom did he vow that they would not enter into his rest?" Now, this is not the physical Sabbath. This is not someone coming to realize that they should keep the physical Sabbath. Now, the rest is you and I coming into the place that we understand that we're on this planet, and what we got to do is rest from our works to do our own thing. Because we're on this planet to do what the Father said. We have to reflect, just as what the Sabbath is supposed to be, that you don't do your own bidding on that day, but that you put yourself down, and and all that you do is resting from your own works, and you're reflecting the Father. That's what the physical Sabbath is telling you to do. Now, we won't get the power to do that. It won't wake up inside of us, okay? Because we're not going to believe. And if we don't believe something, guys, it won't create that system or that structure in our belief system for us to get into that place that we put our own will down and allow the Father's will to move through us. It doesn't take place. Because a spirit needs to do that. Our spirit needs to ignite that within us. So we have, and that spirit is already there, but we have to fan that flame. If that flame is not fanned, it doesn't ignite. It doesn't become bigger. So here we're saying here now, to whom did he vow that they would not enter into his rest, but to those who did not obey. Now, why didn't they obey? They didn't obey because they didn't really believe it. If they really believed it, they would have done it, because it would have meant that much to them. In verse 19 here, it says, "So we see that they could not enter in." They're not going to have that conduit open, and that spirit is not going to come in. So this way, they're not going to be grafted back onto the family. Okay? They're not going to have that opening that they're communicating in that area, because that's not going to communicate with them. Now, if you go back and look at Daniel, you said Daniel set his mind. And he set his mind because of what he believed. Or what he believed in caused him to set his mind. And when he set his mind and he gave himself to prayer and supplication, and he wasn't going to let anything move him from what he believed, what took place when he prayed? It says Gabriel came to show him. A channel opened. A channel opened to show Daniel what was happening, based upon the power of what he believed and where he was at. Okay, so here we go now. So we see that they could not enter in. It's not going to happen because they didn't believe. Now, in Daniel's case, what would happen if Daniel did not set his mind? What would have happened if Daniel did not believe? Do you think those things that the book testified of with Daniel would have taken place? No, they would not have happened. Based upon what Daniel did, igniting that which was already in him, the power of Yahweh which is in everyone already. It's already there. It's a flame that's in you already. That's why the scripture says, fan the flame of the gift of the Spirit that's in you. Fan it. Fan it. No one had to come and light a match with it. You light it. It's already there. It's dormant. Okay? And as you and I begin to believe, it starts to come up. It starts to make itself bigger. And we could notice it. We don't notice it as a flame, but we notice it as a conscience that's all of a sudden starting to come up in us. We don't want to do that bad thing. We want to do what we feel is right. And you don't have to know what is ultimately right. That's not what Yahweh is all about, because He may keep you in a place of not knowing certain things, or your belief system may be totally off, but He wants you in this place right now for you to do a certain thing before He brings you further on. That's how Yahweh is going to work, or that's how He has worked. Okay, but everything is really there, and this is inside the individual. each and every one of us. So here in Hebrews now, we're seeing that certain things was not going to go anywhere based upon people not believing. So if you believe structure is in a certain area, then you're going to influence the world around you, and you're going to influence people. But if the same system turns opposite and there is unbelief, well, you're going to be influence your world in another way and influencing people in a different way. And we just saw that one way is going to get us into the rest, okay, to receive the power or the Spirit to reflect our Father, and the other way, we won't receive that Spirit. Daniel received the Spirit coming to him because he set his mind, and he believed in a certain mode. But if he didn't, it would be the very opposite. It's no different for you and I. Daniel was human. There's nothing that Daniel had that you and I don't have today. Okay? It's there. We may not be exercising it, but it's there. And we could do the very same thing. Now, I'm going to go over to Proverbs now. Proverbs chapter 4. Okay? And we're going to look at verse 23. Proverbs chapter 4. And we're going to start in verse 23. It says, guard your mind. Some books may say guard your heart. Okay? But as we spoke about in previous messages, you have three minds. Okay? When we generally think of a mind, we usually think of brain activity. Okay? But we have a mind in the head, we have a mind in the heart, and we have a mind in the belly. Okay? Three minds. Okay? Father, Son, Holy Spirit is set up the same manner in the physical body. And that's why they said you got a gut feeling. They say follow the heart. You know, these are because these are things that are speaking to you too. Okay? So the mind is not something that you and I can see. The brain, you and I can see. They cut somebody's head open, you see a brain there. But you will never see the mind. Okay? And you have three minds that's working together. Last week we spoke of two of them. The mental and the desire. And we talked about if we allow the desires to have power over the mental and the desires are lower, it's going to bring the things of the mind into the lower frequencies. But if you allow the mind to work with discipline now, that which is in the mental mind, the higher mind, if you allow that to work with discipline, that will change the desires of your heart. This all comes back down to believing. This changes the desires, and that the desire is going to work according to that which you discipline yourselves mentally on. The desires of the heart will turn in that manner. So now we're looking here now. It says, guard your mind or your heart with all diligence. Why? Notice what it says, guys. For out of it flows the springs of life. The springs of life. This got to speak to us. Because the spring, what's a spring? A spring is a source of water. So out of it comes a source of life. Now, you could take yourself back to John 1:1, when it says, in the beginning was the word of Yahweh, which is the plan, okay, or the expression of Yahweh. In that plan, or that word, the plan was with Yahweh, and the plan was Yahweh. It says the same was in the beginning with Yahweh. All things were done according to it, and without it nothing was done that was done. This is the only begotten Son that everything comes through. This is the water, guys. It says, this plan was life. Was life. But remember, the Spirit, the blood, and the water, we talked about that months ago, and the water was the only begotten Son. Well, what's the springs? Springs bring forth water, living water. And the spring is the source of life. And it's telling you the same thing here. It says here now, it says, in this plan was life. And that life was the light. The life is light, and the springs, which brings forth living water, is light. It's light. It's light. The light is in you. And the spring, the source of life, is also in your midst. And it's the source of life to mankind in your midst. It's a source of light to mankind that's in your midst. Okay? And here we have in Proverbs, we're looking at this here in chapter 23. It says, guard your mind. Guard your heart with all diligence, because out of it is the springs of life, the source of life, because the source of life is already in you. The kingdom of Yahweh is in you. The source, the light, is already in you. It says, put away from you forward. Now, this is how you get the source now. It's going to tell you how to get the source. So it's not just mentioning and then it just goes on to something else. It's telling you how to guard your mind so that you're going to have this opening to the springs or the source of life coming out of you. Joshua met that lady at the well. He says, yeah, the water you're going to have is going to cause you to thirst again. You're going to be back over here in a couple of hours trying to get more, or somebody else is going to, and if you don't get enough for a week, you're going to be back here again getting more water. But the water that I give you will become a source of living water, life. Life. That's going to well up in you. It's going to be a well. It's going to be a source. That's going to be coming out, and it's going to be feeding those who are around you, because you're going to influence the people around you by what you're believing now. And you're going to be influencing your situation all around you by what we're believing, by what we allow our emotions to be about, what we allow our meditations of our heart to be about, what we allow our words to be about, the thought processes. That's going to condition your belief. And your belief is the creator. Mind is the creator. What you believe is going to drive the mind. And this is going to be what you and I are believing and creating all around us every day. So we got to guard that mind with all diligence. I mean, you and I got to be on top of it. Okay? We were just speaking before the message started. We're talking about the heavy week that some of us be having. And understand that, listen, when you have this kind of deal going on, hey, it's something that's given to us. This is given to us to assist us. This is no curse or nothing. It's not the people outside that's doing it. No, this is to help us to cleanse whatever we are needing, because we're needing this. When someone comes before me and they're testing me and I want to stick my finger in their eye or whatever, this is something that is testing me and is causing me to see what lives in me, that I have to cleanse or to bring in balance so that this conduit open, that the springs of life opens up to me. That's all it is. You know, there ain't nothing that takes place that is not common to man in this place. It's all happening to everyone. It may not be taking place with you as it is to a 2-year-old child, that everything bothers him that is not his and he wants. As to someone who is mature, 50, 60 years old, and they have a mind now because they've seen so much in life that they have become content. But trust me, if they're in this world, fire is still on the altar. They're going to be tested because more has to come out. So out of what is in us now, the spring of life, the springs of life. And to get access to this, it's telling us how to. If you read verse 24, it says, put away from you a forward mouth. It says, falsehood, you deceit, all these things, and put perverse lips, dishonesty put that away from you. That's going to cause the springs of life to be open to you. In verse 25 it says, let your eyes look straight ahead. Keep your gaze or your focus right in front of you. Okay? Keep it straight. Don't be all banduluing folks and creating all kind of deception and making things to your own advantage, to the disadvantage of others. This is what we're talking about here, or part of what we're talking about here. Okay, and if we do this, the springs of life is going to, we're going to affect the springs of life. Person has access to it. It says here in verse 26, watch where your feet are going. Watch your ways. You and I got to watch our ways. Step only in established path. Don't start moving off because the proven paths are shown by Yahweh. Okay? The proven path, they're already shown. We're not going to change anything there. Okay? Okay, so now if we hold that place right there and go to verse 11, in verse 11 it says, I am teaching you in the way of wisdom. I am leading you in right paths. These are the paths that's already established. We're dealing with established paths. Okay? So watch where your feet, your ways, are going. Make sure it's not taking you and I outside of that which is established by Yahweh already. Because just as we looked at with Jehoshaphat, everything could be going a certain way. He's telling everybody, believe in Yahweh, okay? Because your path, everything is going to be successful to you. But then he went and established himself with someone who was going to influence him in a certain manner, or he took on the influence of that individual, and things didn't go that well after he did that. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't go and deal with someone whose influence is not that great. But it means that when you go to deal with that individual, you can't let them influence you. You have to influence them. Okay? Don't let whatever they're dealing with, don't let it come and let that energy bombard you. You have to let the calmness or the production of your energy flow towards them. You had Yahshua, and Yahshua showed this to you in more than one way. Okay? He was hanging out with what they call the wine bibbers, but he wasn't allowing that influence to come upon him. He was cleansing them. What they call the prostitutes, okay, and the tax collectors, which that were really bad people, they felt back then, okay? But he was allowing his frequency to get to them. He wasn't allowing them or their activities or their energy factor to come and land upon him. Because he had a shield. He had a shield. Okay, and that shield was the same shield, the power of Yahweh that says, if you cleanse the inside of the cup, the outside is going to take care of itself. Okay? If you ignite this light or this water within you, it's going to wash and cleanse everything, and it's going to shield you, and that thing over there ain't even going to get close to you. It can't. It can't, because it don't want to get clean. That's one thing with a dirty spirit, man. It want to stay dirty. Okay? It don't want to be clean. You are a problem for that spirit if you are in the area that you're keeping things cleansed. That's why the world doesn't like us. That's why you have problems in the world, because they will hate you. They love their own, but you are a weirdo. Okay? You are a peculiar people. So don't worry if they don't like you and they say, oh, he's weird or whatever, she's weird or whatever the case is. Hey, Yahweh told you that that was going to be happening with you. He says you are going to be a peculiar individual. So don't worry if they think, oh, the way they live, yeah, I can't handle that. I got to go out there and party once in a while. I got to do this. Don't worry about it. Stay on established paths. And don't let anybody remove you from there. Like Ahab caused, or like Jehoshaphat caused Ahab to kind of get in there a little bit. Okay, so we got to watch our feet now, guys. watch how we're doing things, and we got to step on those things that Yahweh has already established. It says, do not turn to the right or left, walk away from that which is evil. Now, evil, guys, we're talking about evil. Evil is only what we consider in our frequency and our dimension here. All that stuff canceled out because it's just a factor of the left hand and the right hand, which is controlled by the same. Okay? In your scriptures, it's telling you that you have the evil one. Okay? The evil one. It says, keep me from the evil one. And right after it says, keep me from the evil one, it says, because yours is the kingdom. Well, the reason why the evil one is going to be kept away, because the evil one is in that same kingdom. And that kingdom is your father's. Well, the kingdom at its core is all positive. But to deal with you and I in here, there is a Malak at the gate of the garden with a flaming sword, and it's going to cut every which way to make sure that nothing gets in there until it loses everything that it has to lose to get back in there. Now, that reflects upon us as evil. That's what we think is all evil. Okay? And in our world, this is evil coming upon us. But guess who's controlling it? Your father says, when the sins of mankind has gotten to a certain level, he is going to cut off man, beast, all kind of stuff, and send all kind of diseases and stuff. Who do you think is bringing it? Evil. Evil. But how is evil bringing it? Evil now has permission. Has permission as a son in the kingdom to go and do that. Evil has permission. And it all comes down to what mankind has built based upon his belief structure. What you see around you comes down to what people believe in. That's what's being created in your world. Okay? The crookedness is based upon people's belief. What's dear to them, what they speak about all day, what they get themselves upset about or calm about, that's all it is. And most of the time, it's money. Money. Caesar's stuff, not Yahweh stuff. Caesar's stuff. So we're all caught out there already if we're stuck there. Money. Now, don't get me wrong. If you live in this world, this is money is taking charge in this world to do certain things. And you could teach a person with money. You could buy a great home with money. You could serve the Father with money, but don't get stuck on it. Don't get stuck on money. Okay, so we're seeing here, guys, now we got to turn away from these things. And when we do that, the spring, we're going to affect the springs of life. That's in your midst. We're going to say that word, okay, the plan of Yahweh, it's life. It's life. It's the source of life. And it's also light. But you got to open up the path so it will reflect upon you like the sun on the moon, so when the moon comes up at night, it'll have the reflection of the sun also. Now let's go over to Matthew. Matthew chapter 21. Okay, Matthew chapter 21. We'll see how we could influence the world and everything around us. Matthew chapter 21. Let's go ahead and read verse 22. Okay? Now, let's go to verse 21 first. Let's go to verse 21 first. It says, Yahshua answered and said to them, truly I say to you, if you have faith, this is fervent belief. If you believe, and that belief is so strong that nothing could move you from it. Even though these guys come in and they try to undermine your belief, it's so strong that nothing is going to come in and poke a hole in what you believe. This is it. You're standing on that. So this is faith. If you have faith, if you said to them, if you have faith and do not doubt, because this is what these guys come in about, because they know that doubt is going to burst that balloon. It's going to let all the wind out. Do not doubt. Okay, because doubt is going to create a stag in the conduit. Now there's a flow coming to you, and we got to keep that open, because that's fuel for that which is already laid upon in you. You already have light, you already have fire, but you got to fan that flame and allow the fuel to come in, because that fuel is the word of Yahweh. It's going to cause that to grow. Now, there's a scripture now that tells you faith comes by hearing, and hearing by what? The word of Yahweh. The same word that was in the beginning. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing the word of Yahweh. Not hearing it one time and you're good. No, hearing, always hearing it. Faith grows because it's a spirit that's coming in, guys. And it's causing you and I now to start acting in our daily lives, for us to start believing a certain way. Our emotions are going to be grafted by it. Okay, our feelings are going to be grafted by it. We're going to have faith based upon this. Faith comes by that. So faith is growing because we're hearing this word over and over and over. Okay, the word of Yahweh, the Son. That brings forth life. And that life is light. Okay? So now, if you have faith and do not doubt, you will not only do what was done to the fig tree, but also if you say to this mountain, be taken up and cast into the sea, it will be done. This is belief. Belief that's so strong that nothing could come in the back here and say, okay, but is that right? Nothing. You're so firm on it, nothing is going to be coming in. Everything comes, it bounces right off. It's not even going to bother you. But a lot of times, guys, we're going through something, through that fire or whatever, and we have the power to bounce it all away because we haven't experienced that enough. Guess what happens? Something is able to sneak in. Hey, are you doing the right thing? Yeah, these guys are kind of strong. You better stop and turn back. This is what comes in. A little bit of doubt factors. And this causes us not to have the faith of Yahweh, which, by the way, is already stored in you. You and I just won't be able to use it to the expressive mode that we could express it, because we allow doubt to come in. And don't worry, guys, we're not bad because doubt comes in. You got to learn that we're in training here. We're in training. Okay? If you don't allow doubt to come in, great. Kudos to you. Okay? Give me some of your faith. But if you still are in the place that these little things start coming into your mind and start playing little games, hey, all it is, guys, we're still growing. You're still growing. Okay? Don't be discouraged by it. Get back on it and move again. And verse 22, it says here, and all things, whatsoever you ask in prayer, that's all according to the will of Yahweh, because there's a will that you and I can't move past. Notice what it says next, guys? Believing. You and I have to believe. Believing. Believing. It says, you will receive. If you and I don't allow that doubt to come in, and if it's according to the word of Yahweh or the will of Yahweh. Because you and I could be praying for something that is totally not the will of Yahweh right now. And therefore, it's not according to the plan. And if it's not according to the plan, guess what? I'm praying and asking against the plan. But my job in this earth is to work with the plan. Once you wake up, your only job is to reverence Yahweh. So you can't be getting something that's outside the plan. Okay? Because it's not going to do well. And your Father knows exactly what you need, so this is where the prayer comes in. Now we're going to go over to Mark. Okay? To Mark, chapter 9. Mark chapter 9. And we're going to look at verse, let's look at 23. 9 and verse 23. Okay, let's go to verse 22. Now, I'm going to try to find the story here. Where the story starts. Okay. Okay, let's go to verse 21. Okay, there's more, but I don't want to go into that. Let's go to verse 21. So it says, Yahshua asked the boy's father, because, the boy had epilepsy, whatever, how long has he been like this? And he said, since childhood. And often he has thrown him into the fire and into the water to kill him. But if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us. Now what you have to notice here, somebody went to Yahshua, and why did they go to Yahshua? They went to Yahshua because they believed. They believe. That's one thing we got to understand. When we're come together and we're a unit, the power that's going to cause things to generate amongst us is when we believe as a unit. Okay? We can't have doubting factors and factions because, guys, this is what starts bringing down the energy. It starts bringing things down. So notice now, this other guy believed. Now in verse 23, Yahshua said to him, if you can believe, all things are possible for him who believes. What did he say, guys? All things are possible for him who believes. Okay, that means belief is very strong. Okay? Immediately the father of the boy cried out and said with tears, Teacher, I believe. You help my unbelief. That means what he has experienced or heard about Yahshua, what is going on, whatever Yahshua is doing, he's helping that man's unbelief. He says, I believe. You help my unbelief. When Yahshua saw that the people came running together, he rebuked the foul spirit, saying, Mute and deaf spirit, I command you, come out and enter into him no more. So now, I want to go into the rest of it. You guys know the deal. This is what's happening because that man believed. Yahshua already had that spirit within him, and he was now influencing his environment and people around him based upon what he believed. And that man that believed now was allowing that which Yahshua had to come and actually influence his world. And it was helping him and his son because he was receiving it. He was receiving it. Okay? It's like you and I jump starting a car. You know, one battery receiving something from another battery, and things working. Okay. So now we're going to go to Mark, and we're going to look at chapter 6. Okay? So look at Mark chapter 6, and we're going to see something else that's happening here. So Yahshua is saying, you see that man came to Yahshua, and based upon that man's belief, something that's already around everybody was able to be ignited upon that man because he believed and he was tapping into a source. Okay? And the source was there to enter into itself, or the source that's within him too, and it's a battery charging a battery. Okay? And all that's happening, you have jumper cables moving into the other battery. And it's influencing both. One is given to the other. Now, let's look at this now, guys. In chapter 6 of Mark, let's go to verse 4. This is some of our problems here. Yahshua said to them, a prophet is not without honor except in his own country, among his own relatives, and in his own house. Because everybody is so used to him. Hey, this is Fred. This is Fred. I've known him. I used to change his diapers. You want to try and tell me that Fred has all of a sudden grown up and know more than me? I don't think so, Fred. You know? But they don't know what Fred got. Fred got a spirit up on him that wasn't given to you and I. Okay, but we don't know that. So, no, but we've been used to Fred. Fred put his pants on the same way I do, okay? He walks around here the same way I do. I got to help him still. The other day, he got himself stuck down there in the mud. I had to go and pull him out. Fred! Now you going to tell me Fred got all this? No. For those that's in his own house. Okay. So, but he's with honor outside of his house. Those who are not all used to him and taking him for granted. Now in verse 5. It says here, but he could do no mighty acts of power there, except that he laid his hands upon a few sick people and healed them. He could do no mighty works, because those batteries were not in the place that they were going to receive anything coming over to it. Nothing. Could do nothing. But those people that he laid his hands on, those guys would do it, but there's only a few of them around there. Let's go to verse 6. And he marveled. Why? Because of their unbelief. They weren't going to receive nothing because they did not believe. So because I don't believe, can I receive the things I don't believe? No. If I don't believe my reality could be something that somebody else is telling me it could be, am I going to be receiving that? No. I'm not going to create that. Something else would create around me and I could be a benefit of it, but I'm not going to be the one that's creating it. No, because I won't take the charge. Okay? That which is there is going to influence the world around me because it's setting up my belief structure. But if I'm in the place now that I won't believe something, that's also going to affect me and the world around me. And if it's dead, guess what's going to be around me? The frequency is low, guess what's going to be affecting me? Low frequency. If my frequency is robust and it's ready to charge, anything that's received me, anything that receives what I'm saying, or from my battery through the jumper cables to whatever other battery that's going to receive it, that has the power or have whatever is in it to receive it, guess what? It's going to go there. Because that's a channel that has no resistance. But unbelief, my friends, it's a field of resistance. And energy flows to the place of least resistance. So with that, I'll go ahead and close this message today.